To show you how a group of talented individuals come together to develop the music, we will guide you through a collage of rehearsal scenes, statements by the performers, and actual performance scenes. You will see and hear what makes this group unique, not only in the music, but in how they build the music. Each individual contributes to the whole. We hope you will be inspired by the effect of creativity through group collaboration. We also hope you will enjoy, as we do, music that laughs, snarls, and winks.
Maestro's always had a family connection. I've always worked with people that I was either blood related to. I'm currently blood related to Clem, the tall, voluminous person in the band. But I've worked with brothers and sisters of mine in the past and various lovers and people like that in the band. And it's also always had a family extension kind of ability. So, you know, my sister Kate, who's in the band sort of right now, sort of on a leave of absence, you know, she by extension brought in Mickey, and Jenny by extension, because she knew me, came in and started working with us, and Ned and I bumped into each other on an elevator on Michigan Avenue, and so by extension we began to work with each other. And Bob was part of a scene of friends of ours, and by extension we began to work with Bob, and so the kind of family vibe has always been there, has always spread and been an important part of Maestro and what we do. We've always had a cabaret thing going on, and for a while it got a lot stranger and a lot harsher. There was a kind of a punkish, kind of thrash feel to the band for a while, because everybody in the band was furniture movers who drank lots of alcohol, but were still politically correct, and that led to all sorts of strange experiences on the stage. We would do a lot of hallucinogenic drugs in order to play rock and roll. But when that calmed down, and it's been a number of years since that calmed down, we started to actually, probably for the first time in some ways, look at the craft of the songs that we were working on. And that has been a pretty fascinating thing to watch change over the period of time. It's always had a theater quality. It's always had like a language smart quality to it. The music has changed a lot over the years. The original pianist for Maestro was a woman named Kit, and she was very classically trained. And then the second pianist was a man named Joe Tech, who had no training whatsoever and thought everything should sound pretty much the same. And then Mickey was the last, who was not only not trained and didn't think anything should sound the same as anything else, but was just an odd duck to write with and work with. And musically, I think Mickey has always been the one who's pushed us the most towards a kind of sophisticated pop music. And when we started to work with Bob, who's the trumpet player and one of the songwriters, Bob was able to actually articulate about what we were doing musically, and so that we could begin to sharpen the form. So I would say that working with Bob and Mickey has been the most clarifying element of anything that's ever happened in Maestro in terms of making the songs clearer and musically sharper. The two of them have been very good for me in that way. The theater and more avant-garde kind of edge has always come from the theater itself, but Jenny Magnus has always been like right up in the front with that. Always been one of the people insistent on the staging quality, and has always been someone who's always pushed us all to kind of listen a little differently to what we're doing. And then there's Ned, who's Mr. Ears, the drummer. And Ned's ability to just really shape a song and arrange a song from a drum point of view is probably pretty common in lots of types of music, but was never common in rock and roll bands that I was in. Drummers were people that you threw things at and hoped they caught it, basically. And Ned, someone who listens very carefully to the music and really focuses in on it. So he's shaped it a lot in that way. And Colm is my son. Colm started working with me and Maestro when he was a little tiny boy, and he would come out with this tambourine in his hands, and he'd be stuck like this little wind-up toy kind of guy. And we'd set him down on the stage, and people in the audience would drop quarters in the cup or throw quarters at him if they were mean, but nice people would drop quarters in the cup, and he would play the tambourine with his head. And he was about 4 or 5, and he had this very long hair. And so actually Colm has worked in Maestro longer than anybody else except me, although that's a pretty inauspicious beginning, I have to say. And Colm is a singer, and has become a very good singer, and he certainly is one of the people in the band who's very insistent on a kind of a purity about the music that we do, that the songs have feeling, that it's important that they have feeling, that it's important you learn the actual words and not just make them up as you go along. And finally, the newest member of the band is Mark, the Squirmin' German, the trombonist for Maestro Subgum. And we used to play with other people who had flair and flavor on stage. But Mark was brought into the band specifically to replace someone who didn't have a lot of musical chop. And we were really looking for somebody who could do that musical chop. And Mark did that for us very quickly. The other amazing thing for me about Mark is that he has an ability to work with us and remain calm at all times. He came into a pretty intense kind of scene of people who were pretty bonded and pretty vocal about what they thought about everything, and seems to be continually unflappable about what goes on with us. And so it's nice to have Mark with us, and he has also demonstrated recently an incredible ability to sing this one particular song of ours, Hole in Chest, and nobody could sing that song except Mark. He sings it beautifully, so I look forward to working with Mark for a long time. And what else about Maestro is that, yes, we take it completely seriously, and the whole thing is a joke. And, both of those things are really true at the same time. And that, for me, has always been a very important part of the kind of art that I embrace, is that it's very funny, and yet it can stand up and take something seriously and grab it by the throat at the same time. So I like it. I have every intention of dying in this chair or never leaving this band. And that's about all I have to say.